please stand by starting soon. So we are right there again. Now, if you're at this point and maybe you forgot to invite somebody that you wanted to come on as a guest who can then share their video and you're talking to them, everybody can hear their voice and watch their feed, you could hover over the image here and then click on this invite people. This brings you back to that place where you can add people, or you can actually share this link here, which I didn't give you before, and share that link to a person who you want to come on. But I'm going to close that, like I said. I'm not inviting anybody on this particular situation. Now, some really you can click this one to mute your microphone. You can click this one to turn off your camera, which point you turn into this avatar, which is pretty cool. Turn that back on. Some volume, some settings. The microphone, you can change the input right here, and cancel that. And then this one, while you click on that, you're gone. And yeah, so down here, one more link is the video embed. Again, this is where you can easily go to embed this. For example, if you are using Leanpages has a template that allows you to put this video embed code, and then also it has a chat thing underneath and some nice areas to use copy and really put your brand in there. And that could become a live page where people can watch and interact. Although that is different than the Q&A feature, which I'll show you in just a second. Now, over here on the left-hand side, you'll see a few things, and I haven't started the broadcast yet, but I will in just a second. You can screen share, so you can actually share what's on your computer as well. And you can click any window you'd like to share, and that will show and broadcast out to everybody, which is really cool. Here's that showcase, and I'm going to show you how that works right now. If I click this button, it'll open up this panel on the right-hand side, and then I can add anything I'd like. Website, there's add an item from the website, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to SmartCast link button. And add in just a second. And there it is, and I can actually edit this. What happens is it scrolls through different images. If I cancel this, you'll see that this image up here will sort of change and slide over into different images. It kind of just is a way to showcase all the images on what the site is about. I can just get rid of some of these. Maybe I just want to show that one again. You can see how this might be a little bit difficult if you're doing this online, but this is if you know you're going to be putting some stuff ahead of if you know you're going to be covering some stuff, you can put some stuff here at that time, or you can just delete that if you want. There you go. So here's that description I just put in, and if I want to share it with everybody, I need to make sure. Click on show item. So successfully saved. Okay. If I click on this checkbox, then everybody who comes on and watches live will see that this is shown and it's clickable. So you want to make sure, hopefully, before you even start your broadcast, you put that up there, at least your website or any important things that you know you're going to mention. So that's pretty cool. And then the Q&A feature here, let me turn this one on, that will hide the showcase one and Q&A one. This is what it looks like on your end as the broadcaster. And there are no questions here because we haven't had anybody submit any questions yet. This is where you would see a list of questions, and you'd see that pop up as we add questions immediately. And what's pretty cool is everybody gets to vote on their favorite questions, so they give +1 to the questions they like. So at the top, you'll be able to rank them based off of the questions that are most popular, which is really cool. And then you can actually highlight the question that you are actually answering, and everybody knows what you're answering. What's cool about that is when people come in, perhaps mid-question, or maybe they left the room and are coming back, they'll know sort of what you're talking about at that point. So again, this is why it's much better, I feel, than having a chat room. I've done Q&As before where there's a chat room, and the chat is just going so fast, especially when you get a lot of people there. Some chat software will go and speed down to the last message as soon as a new one is prompted, and maybe you were up looking for something or another question or answer. You're in the middle of answering another question. It gets really difficult, so that's why I love this Q&A feature. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hit start broadcast, and then I'm going to go into the YouTube page and show you what that's like, and also the event page to show you what that's like too. So I'm going to hit start broadcast, and it'll count down. Well, it says go live. You are about to broadcast live. right, so boom, we started broadcasting, and it's at this point, I want to welcome everybody and say thank you for joining me in today's Q&A. Really excited to take your questions. Please leave your questions if you're watching this on YouTube. Look on over to the Google event page, and you'll see how we do that. Let's go introduction here, and then if you're on the event page, you can leave your Q&As there. Look at the Showcase app for special links that might be helpful to you, and let's have a good time. So I'm going to give you some time to ask a few questions. In the meantime, I just want to say thanks, guys, for blah. You can tell the story here. Have stuff prepared ahead of time. There's a few things you want prepared ahead of time, actually. Stories to tell. You just write down the bullet point or whatever's in your head of something interesting that happened lately, typically hopefully related to the topic that you're talking about in your hangout. And also, you want to have maybe 5 to 10 questions sort of pre-written or thought about ahead of time in case you come up at the beginning and nobody's asking questions yet. Just get into the questions that you asked sort of to your own self. And if there's any dead periods where maybe you've answered a question and nobody has asked a new question, you'll have other questions that you prompt in on your own to keep talking. The last thing you want to do is just be here like, guys, yeah, so I'm waiting for your question. That's not really cool. So let's go on over to YouTube. So I'm going to grab that YouTube link down here. And I'm going to open up this page. And you'll see that it's talking. And it's me in text. But anyway, it's delayed, and that's why. But what people can do, and what you should instruct people to do every once in a while, they happen to land on your YouTube page. And most people, if you've invited them ahead of time, will go to your event page, and you'll see that in just a second. But if they happen to land on your YouTube page, perhaps they are a subscriber on your YouTube channel, direct them to click on that part that says be part of the conversation. So this is what happens when you click this. That video stops playing, and this video starts playing, and this is where people get to see and interact with you. This is what your audience will see. So you can see that showcase item we had here. This is really cool. If I click on more, it'll open up my website, which is really cool. And then I can actually go back as the user here, and I can add another thing. So let's add Caleb's website, DIYvideoguide.com. It takes a minute or two to load, but a second. And then I can click to show item. You got to remember to click show item, and that's something you can do if somebody asks a question and they have a website example. You can just quickly type it in there in the showcase, and people will easily be able to check it out, which is really cool. Now it has been added, so I'm actually going to go back to that other video here, and it should pop up again because we're delayed a little bit. I don't know how long the delay is. It's sometimes up to 30 seconds or a minute, depending on the connections on both ends. This is kind of different because I'm actually viewing my own on the same computer, the same network, but eventually that will pop up. But as you can see, it's a little bit delayed. And so in the meantime, let's go to the Q&A section. So in order for you to see the questions that come in, again, you hit this Q&A button here, but no questions have come in. So let's ask a question to myself. So if we go to the app, this is the thing that's going to be a little bit hard. You want to make sure that you get your people who are watching this to click over here where it says app. So this is a little grid, like a Rubik's Cube, something you can mention that people will be familiar with, and then click on Q&A. And then here they can ask a new question. So ask a new question. What is up with your haircut? Why is it so short? Hit submit. So as you can see, I submitted this question, and it +1 here and there. That was a lot faster. It has included that question here on my control panel as the broadcaster. So let's go back there and check that out. Do this. Asking the question. Question number 2. Submit.
Good enough. Hmm. One hen, two ducks. One hen, two ducks, three squawking geese. One hen, two ducks, three squawking geese, four Limerick oysters, five corpulent porpoises, six pairs of Don Alvarez's tweezers. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the final session From Thesis to Book. We have covered a lot of ground, talking about writing strategies to finish your ebook, then to take the ebook and convert it into an audiobook and a foreign language translation and a course, and many other things since then. Now we're going to cover questions that you have submitted just to make sure that there isn't anything missing. One of the big things I want to touch on is a topic that I've heard come up frequently when it comes to online marketing, and also something that I have used quite a bit to pretty good success, as have other people. Now, this isn't for everybody, so don't feel like you have to do it if you're not up for it or it doesn't make sense for your business model. But this is something that I do want to mention. What is this thing? Webinars. One of you asked me about how to use webinars as an author. Let me tell you a little bit about webinars, how they can be used, then how to structure one for yourself, and then free tools you can use to set up your own. So basically, a webinar is a presentation, whether it's you talking at the camera or a PowerPoint presentation that you're doing, that you broadcast over the internet. This is what I have used. If you're watching me live, that's what you're watching now. If this is recorded, then, well, this isn't a webinar, but you've probably watched a webinar before. In its most basic form, it's a Google Hangout where you see somebody presenting their PowerPoint slides to people. There are different types of software that can be used to broadcast a webinar. Some, like GoToWebinar, can cost hundreds of dollars a month and are limited to 500 people. There are others like Google Hangouts that are absolutely free that use the hardware horsepower of Google and can literally host up to 1 million people at a time. A year ago, President Obama hosted a Google Hangout, and there were a few million people up there at once. The benefit of a webinar are numerous. First of all, you get a lot of time with people. If you are posting about your new book on Facebook or LinkedIn or other social media, you might only get people's attention for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute. But with a webinar, you can sit down with someone and talk for 30 minutes and 40 minutes or 60 minutes. And there's something about the format that gives you a level of expertise that others don't. People get to listen to you speak, sometimes extemporaneously, but get into much more detail, and they see your expertise on the topic flow out. This is why webinars have become a favorite product promotional tool for internet marketers. They know that if they can get people to listen to them for 30 or 40 minutes, they can use that to justify selling them a product that might cost hundreds of dollars. They can do that in a way they couldn't if they were just posting something on Facebook, because they've had time to sit down and show people that they know what they're talking about. So here's what webinars mean for you as an author, and here's how I've used them in the past. What I did was I took the topic of a new book of mine. Recently, about 2 months ago, I released a book about Donald Trump, of all people. What I was trying to do with the book was show whether you love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, how do we understand him in the context of American history? Were there any other politicians like him in American history? If so, how does that explain his current popularity? I wrote a book on this topic, and in order to promote this book, I created a webinar that was based on the exact same topic. I just created a 30 or 40-minute webinar about the historical roots of Donald Trump. I made some slides to go along with it, about 50 or 60 slides. And then at the very end of the webinar, I said, if you would like to learn more, there were a lot of things I couldn't get into in this webinar, and I mentioned interesting stories to titillate them, to tell them I could have talked about this story and this story and this story, but I couldn't due to time restrictions. If you would like to learn more, I have a new book available on Amazon, which you can buy now. And then I would throw up the link and people could buy it there. This was a great way to engage with new people because I could promote my webinar on Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups that were connected to history. I actually went on Donald Trump fan pages. But whatever your book topic is, you can probably find a social media group out there that's interested in it. And if you tell people, hey, I have a webinar coming up on this topic, would you like to watch it? You can get a lot of new people to come in. You can get people to watch it and possibly buy your book. You can also get your launch team to support this as well. To help make this more clear, what I'm going to do is show you the slides that I used for my Donald Trump webinar, so you can get an idea of how to structure your very own. Then I will show you how to set up a webinar on Google Hangouts. Again, it's completely free, a very good, effective way to do this. Now, if you don't think this makes sense for your business plan, you don't have to do this. But if you're at least slightly interested, I would say go for it, because at the very least, you tried something that maybe didn't sell books, but you learned a new skill. The very best, you might have been able to market your book to hundreds or even thousands of potential new customers. Let me run you through the slides that I have for my Donald Trump webinar. I am including at the end of this session these very PowerPoint slides, so you can use them to craft your own webinar if you want to. So here's my title slide. I begin with American history and Donald Trump, the 200 years of the 200-year roots of the Trump campaign. Then I tell people what they will learn, and I'm going to fly through these pretty quickly. You can go back over these and look closer if you want to. Once we're all done, again, I'll have these PowerPoint slides available for download. I say who I am. I establish my credentials, say I am a history professor, and here are the things that you will learn. I tell them other things that I do, that I have a podcast called History in 5 Minutes, that letting them know that I teach history in an interesting way so that what I tell them will be interesting because I know how to make history interesting. And I tell them I write other books about history. And so then I just give a little preamble about the Donald Trump campaign. I talk about how he's an interesting, unconventional politician. Here's a quote of his that shows how unconventional he is. Then I show how he's ahead in the polls as of January 2016. I then mention him in the context of American history. I mention what are the characteristics of the Donald Trump campaign. One is that he manipulates the media. Second is that he's like a political strongman like Vladimir Putin, and that he addresses voter fears like illegal immigration. Then I mention the historical antecedents to Donald Trump. Andrew Jackson, and then here I'm talking about Andrew Jackson and his historical backgrounds and what are things about him that resemble Donald Trump. William Jennings Bryan, my second historical figure, I mentioned his characteristics. Then Huey Long. Then George Wallace. All of this here, I'm now about 20 or 30 or 40 minutes into my webinar here. And what I'm doing, I just want to point out, I'm taking the notes of my book and I'm condensing it down. If I were to just read my book out loud, it'd be 3 or 4 hours. But in the format of a webinar, it's only 30 or 40 minutes. You can do the same thing. You can just take the text of your book, trim it down to its most interesting parts, to its most interesting 30 or 40 minutes. And right there, you have the script for your webinar. I'll also include my webinar script notes along with the slides for here, so you can get an idea of what it's like to put one together. All right, let's see. So then I just have a little wrap up where I mention the historical figures and I say, based on the past, what can we tell about the future? I say that he is the culmination of Neil Postman's Amusing Ourselves to Death. So I talk about the past and then I mention what does the past tell us about the future. All right, so here is the point where what I'm doing is I give my presentation, but I tell them that now, because of time restraints, there's a lot of interesting things I couldn't say. For example, about Andrew Jackson and all the duels he fought. I thought, okay, that's interesting. People want to know more about that. Or Wendell Willkie, another failed presidential candidate who had no political experience. Here is where I say, if you would like to read more, here is my new book available on Amazon, American History and Donald Trump. And then I throw up a link where people can go to it and purchase it. This is a very cheap, simple way to market my book at the end. This was another thing. This wasn't for Amazon, but these were some other things that went along with it. And I also tell them that if they get on Amazon, it's discounted. The normal cost is $15, but they can get it for $5. It's nice to let them know that I can get it discounted, so you can apply some marketing psychology there. Then I throw up the link where they can purchase it, but there are tools within Google Hangout where you can create sales links really easy, and I'll show you that in a second. Oh, and like any good webinar, once you're done with your spiel, you give time for a Q&A where you let people ask you questions, and you stay there as long as you can until you're finished. And the Q&A can go on for 5, 10, 15 minutes. It depends on how many people are on there. But you spend time answering their questions, and that will do it. That's how you set up your webinar. Now, what I'm going to do is hop onto my desktop, and I'm going to show you exactly how to set up your own webinar for free using Google Hangouts. Yeah. Sure. Oh, well, it looks like you girls did a good job
What?
getting groceries. Oh, good.
Daddy will hang out with you tonight, okay? It's gonna work for you.
Okay, so. I can't work like this. Okay. Okay, our starting place for all of this is your Google Plus page. You can probably find your Google Plus page if you're in Gmail, and you can click on that and get to your profile. You're going to go to the left side of the screen and click here, and you'll go down to this thing that says Hangouts. Click there. Go up here to Hangouts on Air. And then you'll create a Hangout on Air by clicking this button down here. The name of it is something related to whatever your webinar is. I'll say American History and Donald Trump, the 200-year-old roots of the Trump campaign. And down here, you'll give a little bit more description. And I'll say who I am, presenting it, how long it'll last, and yeah, some basic information like that. So here's what I'll say. Join me, Scott Rank, history professor, as I spend 1 hour analyzing the historical roots of the Donald Trump presidential campaign. Starts, I'm going to say later. Well, actually, let me show you what happens if you say later. You can schedule it anytime you want to. It could be March 25th, 7 p.m., duration 1 hour. You can go up to 8 hours, which is crazy. Almost all of yours will be between half an hour and 1 hour, I'll say. Public, that's who the audience is down here. You can add more groups if you're part of Google Circles or Google Groups if you use Google Plus as a social media tool. Plus, public will mostly be fine. What this will do is when you schedule it, you'll get a link that you can send out to people. And when they go to that link at the scheduled time, then they'll be able to join your webinar. But I'm not going to schedule it for later. Oh, I want to mention one more thing. My time zone is here because I'm in Istanbul. You can set your time zone to whatever you want. And the great thing about Google Hangouts is it will automatically convert the time zone to wherever people are on Earth. But I'm going to go to now because I want to show you what it looks like when you create a Google Hangout. I'll click Share. It's loading as we speak. Now here is the event. If you were to schedule the event in the future, you would get a link that you could post on Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and other things. That's pretty straightforward, so I won't show you that, but I will show you what happens when it comes time to actually host your event. You're going to come back to this screen in your Google or your Hangout will be, and you're going to click on this blue button over here that says Start. This screen will pop up right here. And there I am in the background. Oh.